Alright, what up, guys? Today I'm going to be reacting to the first Punic War by Oversimplified. And I wanted to change up my content because I've been watching it and obviously I kind of waited to see if things would change, but YouTube is just not pushing those videos at all, really. Um, and we'll see how this one performs, but if it doesn't perform that, we'll probably react to something else. And I'll just keep trying to figure out which type of content I could react to. You kind of have to keep pivoting until you find something. So yeah, sorry that is something separate, but yeah, I am Casual Basement Dweller, and welcome to the video.
Introducing our new, glorious, breathtaking bucket plushie. Limited quantity, available now, along with some Punic War character pins. Buy them, or I'll marry your mother. It's your choice.
I'm pretty sure you made a lot of money off of this.
Oh, Marcellus,
Especially
you
plus-
sure have a lot of dignitas. Kiss me.
Okay. Hey, Dad. Hi, son. Just reading the newspaper. What can I do for you? Well, you know how you always say Rome is the greatest civilization in the world? It bloody well is. Well, I was just wondering, what makes us so great? How did we come to be? Wow, my son. Boy, let me take you on a journey to this side of the room. The story of Rome begins with these beautiful baby boys going to town on some she-wolf mommy milkers. That's gross. You're gross! Sorry, son. You're not gross. I love you. They're called Romulus and Remus, and when they grew up, in 753 BC, they founded Rome. But there was just one problem. They couldn't agree on which of them should be the king, but they were...
Wait, did they actually suckle on a cow? Whatever that thing was? Is that real? That's crazy if they actually did.
Did that peacefully, right? Oh, heavens no. Romulus caved Remus's skull in with a shovel. Here's a picture.
Cain and
Our
Abel.
first king committed fratricide? I know.
Fratricide?
Look at his face. When's the part where we become the greatest civilization, Dad? Well, you see, at first Rome was full of men. I'm talking like a real sausage party. You know what I mean? Yes, sir. So we invited some neighboring cities over for a big feast. And then we literally kidnapped all of their women. Here's a picture.
Look at that one. She's like,
This is messed up. You're messed up! Oh, sorry. I'll be a better father. I promise. So then, finally, after centuries of monarchy, those tyrannical kings started getting a little too big for their britches. So we overthrew the kings and established Rome as a republic. Is that when all the killing stopped? Oh, heavens no. That's when the killing surged, baby. We went wild and conquered the Latin League, the Samnites, the Etruscans. Woo! What a rush. Dad, Rome seems pretty barbaric. You're barbaric! Oh, I forgot to tell you about the time a prophet told Saturn his son would one day overthrow him. So Saturn literally ate his own son seconds after he was born.
Ew!
I don't want to see a picture. Here's a picture. Dad, look at that!
Wow! I always thought this was like a depiction of Satan. I didn't think. Well, some people think of Saturn. Is it Saturn? I'm pretty sure it's Saturn. Like some special code name for Satan would be Saturn. Like he has many names, and one of them is Saturn within the conspiracy world. Or it might be something else. I don't think it's Jupiter. I think it might be Saturn. I think so. But yeah, I always thought like this was like either a person gone mad, the devil himself doing this, or just like a symbolic depiction of the the insanity and psychopathy of man. That's what I thought it would be.
That's messed up, man! Are we really this uncivilized? Hey! If we were so uncivilized, would we use communal toilets where we all fart and poo together in one big stinky, steamy, dirty toilet room? Yeah, Dad! We would! Clean your butt with a sponge, Timulus! But all these guys just used it! What's wrong with your son, bro? I don't want to be Roman!
They
This
used
is
the
so
same-
weird! You're weird! Sorry, you're not weird. I'm sure you're probably fine.
Oh my days, and back in the day, the infections would have been crazy. Oh my days.
The Roman Republic, a nation that, since its foundation, had been stabbing necks all the way down the Italian peninsula. But this isn't the famous Roman Empire that ruled the known world. Not yet anyway. This is a relatively juvenile Rome, still just a regional power. In 264 BC, the big daddy of the Western Mediterranean was Carthage. Let's rewind a bit. Carthage was founded when some Phoenicians in Tyre had a mega surplus of goods and decided to export those goods across the Mediterranean. They became the dominant trading power in the region, and to support their growing trade network, the Phoenicians established a number of colonies, one of which was Carthage. Therefore, Carthage began its life as a Phoenician trade colony, and the Carthaginians were actually Phoenicians. Or, if you're a Latin-speaking Roman, they were Punic, hence the name of the video. Over the centuries, Carthage gradually expanded and became the region's base of power. Just like Rome, Carthage was a semi-democratic republic with its own senate and judiciary. But there were also some pretty hefty differences between the two. While Rome was big into farming and stabbing people in the neck, the Carthaginians, on the other hand, just like their Phoenician forefathers, had built their power through trade and navigating the waves. They went here and there, selling ivory tusks, gold, and slaves. And as a result, they were rolling in it. Whenever they weren't busy swimming around in their copious hoards of money, in their spare time, they also possibly enjoyed sacrificing their children to Baal, the god of... Let me just check my notes. Ah, yes. Plant fertility. Oh boy, these...
Wow, that's crazy. Again, it connects to the Bible as well. And Baal has been a part of the Bible for many years. Yeah, he's in the Old Testament. Like very early parts of the Old Testament. Like, yeah, when Moses punished his people and killed some of his people because they were sacrificing and worshiping to Baal. They made a whole statue of him, of the bull. Yeah, ever since then, that's crazy. And it's always changed like Baal, 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 different types of names, but how is he a god of planted? But I guess back in the day actually it makes sense because people would like throw other people into volcanoes and stuff like that. And they would do it because the vegetation sucks and it's like appeasing the gods type of thing. So I guess it made sense back then.
figs aren't looking too hot. Maybe if I throw my son into a burning pit of fire, they'll grow. Have you tried watering them, Dad? No, we'll try that second. As a result of all their trading, Carthage had emerged as one of the Mediterranean superpowers. But wait, they said. Rome? What the heck is that? Well, I know it's a pretty obscure little country that you've probably never heard of. But this spunky young nation was about to upset the entire region's balance of power. Initially, the two sides enjoyed relatively friendly relations, and had even signed a couple treaties. But it was a relationship that was practically destined to turn sour.
Dang.
See, Rome had
John
a thing
Wick.
where they liked to aggressively expand their boundaries, often viewing such expansion as a defensive act. Kinda like when you kill your neighbor, because you knew eventually they would have tried to kill you first.
Kind of what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, basically. Yeah, kind of what's going on there. Like some justification reason of it being this.
Meanwhile, Carthage was extremely protective of its wealthy trade network. So if you put a very strategically important island between them, well, 2 plus 2 equals war. Tensions rose, and the two sides began viewing each other with increasing disdain. The hard-working Romans looked across the water at the money-hungry Carthaginians and said, "Look at those dishonest crooks.
I mean, they
Bet
work
they've
hard
never done an
too.
honest day's work in their
That's
lives."
crazy.
And the Carthaginians looked back and said, "Look at those simple-minded brutes. But they've never sacrificed a baby in their lives." Yeah! While war
Wow.
between the two superpowers seemed inevitable, the event that finally triggered it was a little unexpected. The whole thing began with a few simple mad lads on a wild night out. These mad lads are called the Mamertines. They were Italian
Mamertines.
mercenaries employed by the tyrant of Syracuse, here. But when he died, his successor said, "Sorry fellas, we don't need any big burly men with sharp sticks anymore.
Oh, did they kill
You
him?
can all go home."
Oh, okay.
The Mamertines, as it turned out, didn't want to go home. So instead, they went to the nearby town of Messana and said, "Hey man, we are but poor little buff boys without a home. May we come in?" Aw, poor fellas. Sure thing. Uh-uh. Just so long as you promise not to massacre all of us. We
They
promise.
did, huh?
The Mamertines then massacred all of them. Well, not all of them.
Why, though?
Just the men. And they stole their homes and families. Ha! This is my house now. This is my best dad ever mug now. And you guys are my...
Like, imagine being married to a guy and just on a random day, he just gets murdered in front of you, and now you are forced to be the woman of the dude that just murdered him. That is, pillaging was such a crazy thing that humans used to do, and it was so common. Like, there was a point where everybody was doing it. It was crazy. Like, yeah, we're just gonna claim the daughters, the wives, and we're gonna kill the sons and the fathers. Sometimes they didn't kill the sons, they would enslave them, but a lot of the time they would just kill them because they would seek vengeance. And they were like, yeah, we're stronger than the woman, so we're just gonna keep them and grow our colonies by assaulting them. That's crazy, man. Humanity.
A new family. Son, wanna go play catch with your old papa? You're not my real dad! Ugh. Teenagers. Am I right, dear? You're not my real
They would have
husband.
just killed you, man.
Ugh, I'm so trapped in this marriage. Then get out! No, Messana was now controlled by the Mamertines, and they began raiding up and down the Syracuse coastline. When the new ruler of Syracuse saw this, he
He
wasn't
messed
happy.
up, man.
The Syracusans began fighting back, and in response, the Mamertines said, "Oh crap, they're fighting back? What do we do? Quick, we'll convince the Carthaginians to come and save us." Oh no! We're in trouble, and we need a big, strong empire to come and rub our bellies. Why are you saying it like that?
What the heck?
If
Yeah.
I was a big, strong empire, I think I'd like to be seduced. See? It's working! The Carthaginians had long dreamed of controlling all of Sicily. They had been fighting Syracuse and their Greek influence on the island for centuries. And now, here was a great opportunity to get one over on them. So Carthage promptly answered the Mamertines' cry for help and sent a force to garrison Messana. As it turned out, however, some within the ranks of the Mamertines weren't too happy with the occupying Carthaginians, and they sent out a second cry for help to Rome. When it reached the Roman Senate, they were a little more hesitant. Going to help the Mamertines ran the risk of triggering an all-out war with Carthage, and
Yeah,
they had only
just for
just
them?
finished conquering the Italian
Doesn't make
peninsula,
sense.
so they were kind of tired. Plus, the Mamertines were all the way across the water. They had never made a leap like that before. So you would assume that to avoid any conflict with Carthage, the exhausted Romans would probably sit this one out. But you would assume wrong. Rome just couldn't resist a good chance for war. Why? Well, there's something you gotta understand about Rome. See, as a republic, they were hell-bent on preventing any one man from ever gaining too much power. And so rather than having one leader, Rome had two, called consuls, who shared power. These
Okay.
consuls could also only serve for 1 year at a time before new consuls were elected. These measures
That's
to limit
totally
the
that.
powers of the consuls were noble, but had an interesting side effect. The consuls knew they had just 1 year to try and gain as much
Exactly.
glory and prestige as possible, something that was very important in Roman society. And the best way of gaining glory and prestige? Military victory, of course. The Roman political system basically ended up encouraging these consuls to go out and be as aggressive as your Italian grandmother when you don't eat all the spaghetti. And so the glory
And I guess that's why we have 4-year terms now. I don't know if it's completely worldwide, but I'm South African, and in South Africa, it's also a 4-year term before someone new is elected. So I guess that's why they do that now, because yeah, 1 year is not enough at all to make any significant changes. Maybe you could, if you were working with the other party, you could make changes, then they could add to the changes, and it's like a cohesive system that's mutually beneficial for everybody. But yeah, that's not politics. That is not politics.
seeking consuls convinced the people to vote in favor of going to Messana. And in they went. Upon the arrival of the Romans, the Carthaginians in the city, amongst the confusion, were forced to leave. Now, in contrast to Roman aggression, the Carthaginian military had a slightly different philosophy. All right, kids, listen up. If you want to grow up to be Carthaginian military leaders, there's a few things you have to understand. If you fail to succeed on the battlefield, that's a crucifixion. Showing
What?
cowardice, That's a crucifixion. Hello, sir. What are you doing here?
What in the
Aren't you
world?
meant to be in Messana? Yeah, but the Romans showed up. So you just left? Sure did. Oh, you better believe that's a crucifixion. The Roman consuls were awarded for victory, and therefore tended to be aggressive go-getters. By contrast, the Carthaginian generals were brutally punished for failure, and so they tended to be more cautious and
Yeah,
restrained.
exactly.
This
They're more
dynamic is
afraid.
helpful for understanding some of the crazy things that happened during the Punic Wars. So, the Romans have crossed over to Messana, and now there was some red on the island. Hit that panic button. This turn of events was unacceptable to both Carthage and Syracuse, so the traditional enemies teamed up to kick the Romans off their
Wow.
island. They surrounded the city
okay.
and said, "Hey, you jerks! This isn't your island! Come out of there at once!" "Okay, we're coming!" See, Phil, you just gotta speak with authority. That's what being an alpha male's all about. Hey,
Being
man.
an alpha male, wow.
Oh, you brought your weapons and armor? No, I didn't mean... Oh, crap. Out the Roman legions came to engage the Carthaginians in battle, and they sent them packing. With the Battle of Messana, whether intended or not, by going to help the Mamertines, the two sides had just slipped into an all-out war. With the initial Roman victory, towns across Sicily, including Syracuse, began switching allegiance, because being a winner is more fun. But the Carthaginians weren't about to just give up that easily. In 262 BC, they began building up their forces at Agrigentum. So the Romans, being aggressive go-getters, aggressively go-got them. The Romans immediately laid siege, hoping to starve out the Carthaginian garrison. However, because this was the first time Rome had been fighting outside the Italian peninsula, across the water, they struggled to supply their forces.
Oh yeah,
and
with
before long,
food and...
the Romans were as starving as the Carthaginians they were besieging. They had to forage for food, leaving them open to ambush. And when Carthaginian reinforcements arrived, creating a double siege, things got really bad. Everybody starved each other for months until
Hey.
nobody could take it anymore, and they all finally came out for battle, which Rome won. Here's the report from the recent siege at Agrigentum, sir. We killed...
And it just shows how complicated war is with all the different moving pieces, the generals, the people would have had different reactions. And I really hate it, man. I really hate war, but unfortunately it's such a I wouldn't say important thing, really, but it is one of the main drivers of human innovation sometimes. Like some of the most pivotal inventions have come from people trying to create an advantage for their own nation, for their own people to win in the war. I can't name some of them right now. I think wasn't the telephone a part of that? Maybe. I don't exactly remember, but yeah, a few things have been made that have helped human society over the years. I think canned food was that a part of it as well. I'm not 100% sure, but quite a few things come from war because all the money, all the incentives are there for the other side to win, and so they do everything and throw everything at it, which can lead to a lot of great inventions that help us. But it's just a net negative because of all the deaths, the hatred that comes out of it, the segregation, the many, many, many issues that will come from war in general, including civil war, just between the people in the same nation. It's just, I hate it, man. But yeah, it's constant, and I hope I don't see another one. I hope I don't see. I actually never saw a war. Yeah, I never saw it. I was born in 1998. So, was that like, yeah, apartheid ended in my country the year I was born. Yeah, yeah, it ended then. So I've never really been around some crazy stuff. Really, I have never been around such stuff. So I hope I never get to.
30,000 while only suffering 7,000 losses? That's amazing! We're the best! Yes, sir. Oops, those are the wrong way around. What? We lost 30,000? We're the worst! But we won, right? Yes, sir. But we also got our asses kicked. Yes, sir. So are we the best or the worst? Yes, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
The Romans wanted Agrigentum because they were aggressive go-getters, and they now began eyeing up the possibility of conquering the entire island. But they also suffered very heavy losses, and it was clear they couldn't sustain a campaign if they couldn't supply their troops. Here's the issue. Sicily was an island. Islands are surrounded by water. A strong navy would be vital for supplying troops and winning the war.
Exactly.
Here was Carthage's navy. And
Dang.
here was Rome's.
Wow,
I think you can see the problem. Historians debate just how much naval experience Rome had at this point. Presumably, they must have had something to defend their shoreline. But whatever it was, it would have paled in comparison to the Carthaginian juggernaut. And so Rome had to figure out exactly what to do about all this water. Come on, men. We're not gonna let some pansy candy-ass water get in the way of our glorious victory against Carthage. Charge!
You drowned? Yep.
Tell my kids
You drowned.
I love them.
We're gonna need a bigger boat. What's a boat? I don't know. If the Romans wanted to win this war and obtain Sicily, there was only one thing for them to do. I guess we're just gonna have to go ahead and build ourselves a war fleet, aren't we? From scratch? From scratch. But we don't even know how. Never mind how to fight with one. Don't worry, Hank. We're up to the challenge. Come on, guys. We're Romans. And Romans aren't afraid of anything. And so, the Romans worked long and hard trying to figure out how on
Why
earth
would
you
you
actually
push
build the
horses
latest style of
into
warship.
it? Oh
In the
my
end,
days.
they had a bit of luck on their side. A Carthaginian quinquereme ended up accidentally grounding on Italian soil.
So they
The Romans
studied
found
it,
it and
reverse
copied the
engineered.
design. While the new fleet was being built, the Romans trained rowers on land. And would you believe it? The Romans put together a full fighting fleet of 120 warships in just 2 months. A staggering feat.
That's insane.
Now, I know what you're thinking, but oversimplified. If the Romans can build a war fleet from scratch in 2 months, then why does it take you half a year to make a video? Well, my valued subscriber, I think you should shut up. What the heck?
Dang.
How on earth did
Okay.
the Romans learn how to build a war fleet? This shouldn't be happening. From what I hear, they copied the design from us, sir. Well, how on earth did they get the blueprint, Carl? I don't know, sir. But I'll tell you what. If you're worried about people stealing your data, no, and you want to protect yourself from outside threats, don't you dare. Then you, my friend, if you mention NordVPN, I'll scream. Should use NordVPN.
Alright, I'm gonna skip this.
Agrigentum, supply issues, and building a war fleet. So now the Romans have a navy, and it's time to put it to the test. But how does one wage ancient naval warfare? Easy. All of the ships had giant bronze rams on the front, so all you had to do was
Ram each
outmaneuver the
other?
enemy and give them the jimmies.
Yeah.
Easy as pie. And so the aggressive Romans set out for some good old-fashioned jimmy giving. The consul, Gnaeus Cornelius Scipio, set out for the town of Lipara, believing the garrison there wanted to join the Romans. As he entered the harbor, however, he found himself trapped by a Carthaginian fleet.
Ooh, that's
and in
smart.
the following skirmish, he was completely outmatched. The Romans may have had a brand new fleet, but when it came to engaging in actual combat, their inexperience showed.
Yeah.
There was just something better about the Carthaginian ships. The Carthaginian rowers had nicer abs. The entire Carthaginian empire had been built on expert seamanship. So, when it came to water, the Carthaginians were better, and the Romans were wetter. In their initial
Damn.
skirmish, the Romans were beaten so badly that the consul, Scipio, was given a nickname, Asina. And if you're wondering what that means, just drop the Ina. So what were the Romans to do? How could they possibly stand up to this Carthaginian superpower? Well, there's something you gotta understand about the Romans. Back when they found that Carthaginian ship and copied its design, that wasn't a one-off thing. Copying their enemies was as Roman as punishing murderers by sewing them into a leather pouch with a monkey, snake, and rooster, and then throwing them into a river, which is a thing they did. Wait, what was I talking about?
What the heck?
Oh yeah, copying their enemies. Many
Okay.
of the most famous Roman inventions were actually borrowed. Aqueducts, chariot racing, their gods. Even in warfare,
Yeah, I know
the
about
Romans
that
would
one.
get pierced by a Sabine javelin, and they'd be like, wow. They'd get hacked to bits by an Iberian sword, and they'd be like, wow. And they'd copy the designs for themselves. However, they wouldn't just copy it. They would advance it, finding ways to adapt it as perfectly as possible.
And yeah, that is the greatness of reverse engineering. And that's what we did to advance human society. We would share each other's knowledge. Well, certain places we'd share each other's knowledge, and we'd bring our own expertise and we would create a better product. That's how the train continuously advanced over the years. It was brought over. Was it steam? I think it was steam trains were brought over from the British to the Japanese, and they thought it was like magic or something. And then they learned how to do it themselves. And now look at Japanese trains. They're insane. They're amazing. So yeah, that's just, again, unity is the best way for human society to advance. But nowadays everybody wants to be fighting all the time, so it kind of kills our ability to advance. And I guess some people do steal stuff here and there, but it's better when you're talking to the person and they teach you everything you know about it, everything they know about it, and you can add your own knowledge and it can actually be better. But nowadays we just want to fight each other and unalive each other and do all types of crazy things.
The case of naval warfare, the Romans realized if they wanted to beat the Carthaginians at their own game, they would have to adapt. The Romans excelled at combat on land, not on water. But what if, they said, we could somehow turn a sea battle into a land battle? Sounds crazy, right?
Oh, jumping on the boat and
they
fighting
made
them
a
on
couple
the
of
boat?
tweaks to their warship. And look, here they come again. They must love getting their asses kicked. Sir, what's that toll thing sticking out of their
Yeah,
ships?
to latch onto the boat so it doesn't move, and then they climb on your
They
boat.
really are idiots.
and kill
Look at
everyone.
that thing. That'll make them blow over. I mean, look at. Bob, Bob, get your camera out. Take a picture of it. I mean, how stupid can you be? Let's just add a big wooden tower to our ship that'll weigh us down and blow us over in the wind. I mean, what does that thing even do?
Exactly.
The Romans had built a big swinging spiked gangway called the Corvus. So when the Carthaginian ships approached to ram them, the Romans would just slam them. The Carthaginians tried going around, no problem. The Corvus could swivel. Try going behind, the Romans would huddle to the coastline. It was foolproof. Those big, sexy Carthaginian rowing muscles could flex all they want, but they were no match for the Roman mind. So ladies, you see, what really matters is what's on the inside. What's on the inside? Please go out with me. And with that, the Romans, who had only just recently began dabbling in the art of naval combat, thanks to their ingenious Corvus, had just managed to outclass the Mediterranean seafaring superpower. The Carthaginians were stunned, and the general in charge of the defeated Carthaginian fleet, well, you better believe that's a crucifixion. With their newfound control of the seas, the Romans could now more easily blockade coastal cities and supply their legions on land. Surely, the Romans were now free to unleash their aggression all over the island. Haha! Hey Carthaginians, what are you gonna do now that we're free to rampage across the island? We're gonna go inside these walls and close this gate. Oh, come on, guys. Stop messing around. Come out so we can kill you. No. Oh, come on. No. Oh, no. To counter the new Roman supremacy, the Carthaginians decided to engage in a defensive war of attrition, forcing the Romans to engage in siege. After lengthy siege, the war in Sicily became a long, hard, back-and-forth slug. One by one, cities slowly fell as the Romans gained ground. Occasionally, the Carthaginians countered and even pushed them back, only for the Romans to rebound again. And whenever a city did finally fall, the Romans could delight in slaughtering the entire population and selling any survivors into slavery, which was pretty standard procedure at the time.
Wow.
In general, the campaign on land was progressing much slower than the Romans had hoped, And quite frankly, they were getting sick of it. So in 256 BC, they decided that something had to change. Hey everyone, my name's Marcus Attilius Regulus, and I'll be one of your consuls for this year. Look, as I'm sure you all know, Sicily's being a bit of a drag. Sure, I could go and spend my entire year as consul besieging one single city, but they'll never make a naked statue of me for that. So here's the new plan. I'm gonna skip Sicily entirely, take my army, and go right for the heart of Carthage itself. I'll slaughter the men, enslave all the women and children, and when I return, you'll all build 1,000 naked statues of me.
Very
Marcus,
ambitious.
that women and children stuff, that seems pretty evil and barbaric. No, Jim, it's perfectly normal in the ancient world.
It
Sometimes
literally
we
is.
even chop their pets in half.
What?
Okay, guys, looks like the Romans are coming straight for us this time. And what will they do when they get here? They'll kill us all. They'll massacre each and every last one of us. They may even chop our pets in half. That's barbaric! No, Rob, it's actually pretty normal for the time. We'd do the same to them. Who'll protect us? Funny you should ask, Mary. That's kind of why I called this meeting. Who will protect us? Protect our families, our homes, our children. You guys? Ha! Don't make me laugh. Why, you're just a bunch of stupid and weak farmers.
Dang.
Simple-minded
okay.
buffoons. Cowards. Fools. Rob here thinks enslaving women and children is barbaric. You're a snowflake, Rob. Yes, you are.
Wow.
The fact is, if the Romans manage to land on African soil, we're all gonna die. A terrifying, hideous, unspeakably painful death.
Great speech, man.
Is that the end of that speech? Yes. The Carthaginians had to stop the Romans from ever landing in Africa because they believed that would be the end. So as the Romans were building an invasion fleet, the size of which the world had never seen before, the Carthaginians were preparing an even bigger one to stop them. And in 256 BC, as the Roman invasion fleet made its way south, the stage was set for a humongous battle that saw 680 warships, around
Dang.
300,000 men, fighting to decide the course of the war. To this day, the Battle of Cape Ignomus remains possibly the largest naval battle in human history, all the way back in ancient times. So the next time your granddad tells you about the time he sank a Japanese aircraft carrier, kick him in the nuts. The Romans had a lot riding on this battle. They weren't just sending their warships, but transports as well, full of supplies and horses for their invasion of Africa. They therefore formed a protective wedge-like formation to punch
really
through
cool.
the long, thin Carthaginian line. The Carthaginian generals, however, desperate to prevent the Romans from reaching Africa, had a plan of their own. As the Roman fleet approached, the Carthaginian center feigned a retreat, luring the Romans in so
Yeah,
their
to
outstretched
trap
flanks
them.
could envelop them
Yeah,
and get
that's very
around
smart.
the Roman corvus. A clever plan. But with such a huge battle and so many ships crowded together, the Carthaginians struggled to maneuver as hoped. And in the chaos, 3 separate battles emerged across the huge battle space. With the number of ships limiting their ability to maneuver, the Carthaginians became sitting ducks, and all the Romans had to do was start swinging. The Roman center came out on top
Dang.
and were then able to turn around and rescue
hell?
their pinned down flanks. The Battle of Cape Ignomus was a Roman victory.
Alright, and that is the end. Yeah, I knew this was part 1. I should have mentioned that, I'm pretty sure. Some of y'all would have known that, but yeah. It was really interesting. A lot of very interesting, bits of information in there. But yeah, I did really, really enjoy the new information I got from how Carthage was, and obviously Baal and that, which was never really spoken about again, which makes sense. It does tend to happen. He will show up here and there and then not really feature anymore. So it does happen. And yeah, I didn't know that the Romans copied everything from other people, but it does make sense because the Roman colony, I think, had like a bunch of different religions and a bunch of different people there, and that's why they constantly had issues with people living with each other, accepting each other. And it was a great feat for them to do it for so long, but eventually it did collapse. And yeah, their society just fell over. And they did try and create a religion that would encompass many different aspects of the two biggest ones at the time, which is Greek mythology alongside Christianity, to try and form Catholicism, but it just didn't work still. So yeah, that was good. That was good. And if you guys want me to check out more and learn more, I will. I love learning. So yeah, we can watch part two together and like and subscribe if you want to see that. If you want me to react to something different or to react to other things, just put it in the comments. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later.